Abby.
Excellent, thank you. So, welcome and good morning to everybody. I'm going to have a chat this morning with you with regards to understanding, first of all, what financial well-being is and how that impacts us in the workplace. Um, and I just said that I have got a Q&A slide on this because it was going to go out live. If you're watching the recording, just feel free, if you've got any questions at all, to drop me a message within the Working Well community, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. So, feel free to reach out if you have got any questions at all that you'd like some more clarity around. So I just wanted to just sort of let you know that, you can do that. So first of all, I'm Abby. I'm a personal finance expert or financial wellbeing expert, whichever you want to call me. I've had over 20 years experience in financial services. I'm a qualified financial advisor and qualified mortgage advisor. In my career, I've worked for two major high street banks. I've also worked for a fintech startup company who also were a wellbeing company. I've owned two successful businesses, one of which was in France. I've been a financial advisor, a financial coach, and a trainer over the years. And as this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, I'm also a mental health first aider. So during my career, I've done lots of training, lots of coaching, mentoring different people. One of my biggest achievements is I designed and delivered a training program for financial coaches, which was accredited by the London Institute of Banking and Finance. So I'm really proud of that. Nowadays, I help companies enhance their employees' financial literacy as part of their overall wellbeing strategy. And I specialise in areas such as navigating the cost of living crisis, budgeting, mortgages, and training money champions. That gives you a little bit of information about me and what I've done. So the goals for today are, I've actually added a little bit in since it was put out onto the Working Well community. So what is financial wellbeing? What influences our financial wellbeing? So identifying the impact that poor financial wellbeing has on us and in the workplace. We'll have a quick look at the solutions that are available out there. And then I've added in sort of getting started with a financial wellbeing strategy, if that's something that interests you, and also some resources that are available to help you immediately with any money conversations that you're having with your teams at the moment. As I say, there was a space for some Q&A, but if you're not joining us live, please, as I say, feel free to drop me a message. So first of all, what is financial wellbeing? So let's briefly have a look at what financial well-being is. It's a term really that means different things to different people. I really like this definition from the Money and Pensions Service because it enables us to break down the concept of financial well-being into different tangible components. And I've created, as shown really in this sort of jigsaw puzzle about how it all fits together. So the definition is: financial well-being is about feeling secure and in control. It's about making the most of your money from day to day, dealing with the unexpected, and being on track for a healthy financial future. In short, financial resilient, confident, and empowered. So that's from the Money and Pension Service. But I've broken it down into this diagram really just to give you some sort of idea of how that sort of relates to, real life, as it were. So you see we've got two columns. One is present, one is future, one is security, and one is the freedom of choices. So the security aspect of it right now is the ability to manage your day-to-day money. So be able to afford your bills, be able to afford to get to work. If you feel in control of that, you're feeling okay about your finances. In the future, what that looks like is being able to, having the financial resilience to be able to deal with anything that's unexpected that comes your way. And then when we look at choices or freedom of choices, now that means being able to make financial choices that make you feel good. So being able to go on holiday, go out for dinner, that you've got that, flexibility within your finances to make those choices which make you happy. And then looking towards the future, being on track to meet your financial goals. So have you got enough money to, in retirement? If you're looking to buy a house, have you got money put aside to do that? So that's a really nice little definition and a graphic to sort of explain what the concept of financial well-being is. And if you've got all four of those pieces sorted, you're probably feeling okay about your finances. So why now? Why are we talking about financial well-being now? What's happened to make this such a big conversational point within our day-to-day lives? So the first thing is, obviously, we're all familiar with the cost of living crisis. There's lots of overwhelm out there. If you Google what money should I put in an investment, or how should I put money aside for my retirement, the amount of information that comes back to you is incredible. It's amazing. Years ago you wouldn't have been able to get the level of information, but it does create overwhelm. There's also a lack of knowledge out there. People are not as knowledgeable about finances. And again, you've probably seen lots of people talking about, there's no education in school, there's no practical support for people. And so, people generally aren't as well educated as they were in the past. Social media plays a big part, again, influencers or finfluencers in the finance world. More people are paying, struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. Employers are more aware of the impact. So, there's been lots of research, there's lots of reports out there, there's lots of information for employers to understand the impact on their teams. There's a better understanding of money and the impact on mental health, which I'll cover in a little bit more detail in a minute. And we're more open to talking about money and money struggles, but actually, to be honest, we're more open about talking generally and, about things that we're finding hard and things that are affecting us. And out there is increasingly complicated financial products. They're not necessarily more complicated, there's just a lot more of them. And again, years ago, you would have got your paycheck, you would have gone to the bank manager would have said, well, I'll take £10 and put that there, I'll take the other £5 and we'll put it into a savings account, and then you can have the rest. But it would have all been with that one bank, with that one person. And it might be that the products are still the same, but you can choose thousands of different companies, and then within those companies you can normally choose thousands of different options, and so it seems like it's more complicated for us. So then what influences our financial well-being? So our jobs and our home are probably the first two that I would say that will influence how we feel about our money. And along with that comes comparing ourselves to others. So, it's human nature. You look out of the window, you look at your next door neighbour, you look at their car, you look at their house, you look at what they're doing, how many holidays they've had, and we naturally compare ourselves to others. And that can have a detrimental effect on how we feel about money and our financial well-being. So then we've got some key components, which really are things like key stages in our life, such as marriage, buying a house, having a baby, when you're coming up to retirement. All of these things can have bring up different financial challenges, different educational needs around your finances that you may or may not have, and bring up different feelings about money. We've mentioned financial literacy has an effect. So 46% of all UK adults report low knowledge about financial matters. That's a huge chunk of people that have, that are openly admitting that, they could do with more knowledge around this subject. External events will affect how we feel about our financial well-being. So I've already mentioned the cost of living crisis. You've got the war in Ukraine, Brexit, COVID. All these outside influences will have an effect on how we manage our day-to-day money, because things may go up, or the cost of things may go up, or there may be a direct effect, and you might not be able to buy something that you want to, and so external events have an impact too. Another big area is that your background, or your age, your gender, and certain demographics are all impacted in different ways by finances. And some of the stats that I'll go through with you in a little bit are like general UK population, but actually research has shown that the younger generation are suffering more than the slightly older generation. Our own confidence. So again, 24% of the UK population have little or no confidence in managing their money. So that's going to have a real impact. If you don't feel confident in managing your money, you're not going to feel good about it. Things like indecision, analysis paralysis, decision fatigue, and worrying that we'll make the wrong decision all feed into our confidence and how we feel about money. And then lastly, which probably maybe might be the biggest one, is actually how much money we've got. Our salaries, our income, any savings we've got, how we feel what we've got in the ready for the future. That is going to all have an influence and a big impact on how we feel about finances and money. So why does all of this matter? So individually, money is with us forever. It affects all aspects of our lives. So it affects our physical health, our mental health, our sense of self-worth, the decisions that we make. It influences what career choices we make. It will have an impact on our relationships. And, again, overall, our financial health will be affected by how we feel about our financial well-being. So let's very briefly look at the link between money and mental health. Money and mental health are intrinsically linked. That's, a given. And as it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I've just had a little bit of a deeper look at, how that actually affects us. So first of all, mental health can impact the way that you deal with your money, but also money problems can affect your mental health. And then there's certain feelings associated with money, and they can also affect your mental health. So how does our mental health affect our money? Well, first of all, if you're low, if you're depressed, or if you're low, or you're going to lack motivation, sorry, motivation to manage your finances, you're not going to want to deal with them. You might overspend to feel better. You're more likely to make impulsive decisions, and your mental health may affect your ability to work or study. And the worst case scenario, it may actually affect your direct income being able to come in. So you may actually avoid taking action or to stay on top of your money, or avoid even thinking about money altogether when you're in a poor mental health situation. And then on the flip side of that, so how does money affect our mental health? So money worries can cause lack of sleep. We've all been awake worrying about things. So that's, again, not surprising. You may feel stressed or under pressure to provide for your family. So, if your finances are, not great and you're struggling to manage day to day, you may not be able to afford things that you need, or be able to even afford your bills, which is obviously going to cause a great deal of stress and affect your mental health. Money problems can affect your relationships, not necessarily just your direct relationships, but all of your relationships, because you might not want to be as sociable, you might not want to go out, you might not be able to afford to go out as much. And then that in turn means that you may feel lonely and isolated. And money can be really emotional and bring up different feelings for us all, such as guilt or embarrassment, shame. You might be afraid to, open the post or look at your bank account. Opening the post can trigger anxiety and panic in some people, and you may feel worn or tied down. And generally, like, money can be is probably one of the leading causes of poor mental health, I would say. Because if you don't feel good about your money, if it's not going well for you, that will have a detrimental effect on everything that you do within your world. And the other point is that people on higher incomes are not immune to money-related mental health problems. You may think that people who've got more money are going to be much better off, be it, it's not going to affect them. But actually, with more money comes bigger problems in some respects. They're bigger houses, bigger, gas bills, higher debt. And you probably feel more compelled that you want to keep up with, your next door neighbours, and you feel that you should be. So it's, people on higher incomes aren't necessarily immune. So how does all this filter through into the workplace? So money worries are at the forefront of your employees' minds. Again, this is research from the Money and Pension Service, but 22% of people, I mean, this is not surprising when you look at these figures, but 22% of people have less than £100 in savings. And that goes up to something like, I think it might be 59% if you look at 1,500, how many people have got less than £1,500 in their bank account. So that's a big, a massive chunk of people who've not got much reserves. And when we think back to, the jigsaw puzzle, having the money to, for some financial resilience in case, you have a future shock, a big chunk of the population doesn't have that. 60% of adults are currently struggling to keep up with their bills, and 17% are often borrowing to buy food or pay for bills. So it's not surprising when you look at that 77% of employees report they have experienced financial stress or worry in the last 12 months. That's a huge amount of people. Money is the #1 cause of stress outside of work. And 1 in 4 employees say that financial concerns have affected their ability to do their job. So what does this all actually mean for the employer? So it's estimated that there are 5 working days per employee per year lost to dealing with your finances or worrying about your finances. And, when you're worrying, you're less productive, or if you've got lack of sleep, you may be less productive. And it's estimated that 626 billion of productivity is lost in the UK per year due to financial distress. And then that equates to 4% being added to your payroll costs because of absenteeism caused by financial distress. And employees are twice as likely to look for another job if they're suffering, financial hardship, or struggling with their finances day to day. So there are some big numbers there, quite surprising numbers, of how it's actually affecting the workplace. But not only that, financial well-being is actually something that your employees want. So some research by the CIPD suggests that only 18% of organisations have an employee financial well-being policy in place. Over 2/3 of UK employees want more support from their employees with their finances. And 33% of employers report that there has been a rise in demand from employees. So the two things kind of go together. So what are the solutions? What can we do? What's out there to help everybody? So employers are actually asking these questions, like, what can we do to help our employees? So they're increasingly reporting a rise in demand. And again, the CIP suggests that you can step up to meet the demand by putting in place a financial well-being policy in place. And they suggest that your financial well-being policy should have 3 core elements. So the first one is pay of at least a fair and livable wage, support for in-work progression, and the last one, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is financial well-being, education and support. So salary, as we've discussed, is only really part of the solution. So we've already seen those, that those on higher incomes are not immune to money-related health problems, and employers are suffering similar increased costs themselves due to the cost of living crisis, and their costs are going up considerably as well. So we need to look at other solutions and cost-effective solutions. So I've done a bit of a Venn diagram which shows many of the different options that have evolved in financial well-being space. And these are increasing daily with new and innovative ideas, such as using, I don't know, WhatsApp to promote well-being, coaching, the Working Well community. There's lots of new ideas and lots of focus on how we can support people with their overall well-being. And as part of that, financial well-being is included in that. So I split it into 3 traditional products, so things like your workplace pensions, your company cars, loans and savings, and then other solutions, so things like providing content, like today, platforms. We saw lots of one-off gestures of goodwill within COVID. People were being paid sort of ad hoc bonuses. Salary advance has become quite a big one over the last few years as well. So they're the kind of other solutions. There's more on there than I've just said. And then the last one is you've got the human services as well, which are probably as well becoming more prevalent in the marketplace. So you've got your more traditional financial advice and mortgage advisors. Lots of companies offer that as an option, discounted rate with advisors, webinars, workshops and training and masterclasses on specific financial topics, financial coaching, and training money champions within their workplace. So they're all the different options that are available, and you can mix and match those as you see fit, and as what works for your company and what works for your organization. So what are the benefits to the employer? Well, looking at the previous slides, you have improved mental health, you have improved performance, productivity and engagement from your team, a reduction in sick days. You'll be able to attract and retain great talent. You'll have an increase of uptake in workplace benefits and pension benefits. And then you'll be known as a market leading organisation with an inclusive culture. So let's very quickly look at how you can get started. If you're interested in getting started. So the first thing is to understand the needs of your employees. So that's through data collection, surveys, ask people for stories of things that have worked and helped with them, maybe have some focus groups. So you can define the problem, which will then inform your strategy going forward. Review what you've already got and leverage the existing benefits that you're already paying for, so you don't have to pay, it doesn't have to cost you necessarily anymore. So you've probably got tech in place, already got different benefits. Look at the current products and the experts you already use. Gather feedback from your teams and, analyze engagement, and use this data to identify gaps and, promote your existing benefits. Then have a look, number 3, have a look at developing your strategy. So consider demographics and targeting specific outcomes for specific demographics. Look at what solutions are available out there and determine what your success criteria is, because for different organizations that will be different depending on what you want to get out of it. Number 4, which maybe should be number 1, it's just the 5 steps, but it's to get buy-in from senior leaderships. These kind of initiatives should really be driven from the top, and the senior leader should set the tone for the culture and strategic direction for the support in your organization. And roll out your plan. This final step will be, launch the plan, but also evaluate the effectiveness. Keep going back, keep checking, testing it, checking engagement, making sure what you're doing is actually hitting the mark with your employees. So very quickly, this is quite a busy slide, so forgive me, but I wanted to give you top 10 tips to help you succeed. So within your organization, the first thing and the most important probably thing is to foster open conversations around money in your organization. That might mean that you need to do some additional training with managers so that they feel confident and empowered to be able to speak to their team about money, but creating safe spaces and, top down, top up, whichever way you want to do it, foster that open conversation about money and you know, why it's important to have these conversations. Ensure your leadership team understand why financial well-being is important, the impact it has on their teams, and the value of improving that within the organisation. Align your strategies across the business. So, you know, within your existing strategies, goals, you know, any other well-being initiatives or HR initiatives that you're doing. It doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to cost a huge amount of money. You can start large or small. It depends on your priorities and what resources are available to you. So, you know, starting small is just as good as, you know, rolling out a huge, great big initiative. Consider different options for different employees, target different stages of life for your employees, drive the initiative yourself, and identify your champions throughout the business who will be able to be your cheerleaders. Share information. So if you're doing feedback, don't just keep it to yourself, share it with the whole organization, share it with the team. That way you're creating that open conversation about money, and, you know, get people's buy-in to the different solutions that you may be implementing. And then test and review, and don't be afraid to adapt and change. So that's really gives you a very whistle-stop high-level tour of financial well-being, and you know, how you can maybe think about starting implementing some solutions into your organizations. But I also just wanted to very quickly put some additional resources together. We were just speaking before. We'll try and put together a PDF with the links in that I'm about to show you. But really, these are some that, you know, these are some resources that will help you maybe initially have some conversations with people about money, so you've got some real practical solutions available to you. So the first one, I don't know whether any of you will have heard of Money Helper. I don't know whether you would have done in the NHS.
Not come across it.
Money Helper is a website that is set up and supported by the government, and it has everything you could possibly ever want to know about money on there. Literally, like, you can just I might actually see if I can open it, if I can find my mouse. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can see along the top you've got all of the different options. So just budgeting, you know, you click on budgeting, it's got lots of information, lots and lots of content around it, and even sort of a budget planner and, you know, benefits calculator and things like that. So if people are actually coming to you and saying, how do I buy a house? How do I start saving for a house? The chances are it's probably on there. Or how does my workplace pension work? It will be on there. So that's the first one that I wanted to share with you. Unbiased, if you've got people who are looking for financial advisors or mortgage advisors, accountants, they don't know where to go, that's a really good resource. It will, you type in your postcode, what you're looking for, and it gives you a list of local advisors. Citizens Advice Bureau, if any of your team, and there's actually a different one for Northern Ireland, but if any of your team need to find information about how to find a food bank or something like that, or get food bank vouchers, Citizens Advice is where they need to be looking. I've also included the national debt line and step change. So again, if anybody's really struggling with their finances, they think they're going to miss a bill, they can't afford to keep up with their debts, step change and the national debt line are able to advise them, and they can provide you, or provide your team with strategies to help them pay the debt off. They can create what's called breathing space with their debtors, and they can also, as I say, they can give them specific advice around debt management, but also they can create things like IVAs and manage that on behalf of people. Just speaking to them doesn't affect your credit score in any way whatsoever. It's free, it's confidential, it's an amazing resource if people are struggling with their money. And then on the other side, I've put a link in there to the CIPD. Lots of my research has come from their website. There is a huge amount of resources on there around financial well-being, case studies, ideas of how to implement, and you know, what types of products and solutions work well. I've also, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I've added Mind, the MHFA England, because they've got lots of information on, as you can imagine, this week of ways you can support your staff and your team in managing their mental health. And lastly, if anybody really is struggling, there's always the Samaritans, and I just thought it was important to put that on there with what we've been talking about today. So if anybody does want to speak to somebody, you may have an EAP line that you can give to them, but obviously if somebody's worried about confidentiality or you don't want to do, you know, workplace benefit, the Samaritans are always there. So thank you very much. That's, as I say, a very whistle-stop tour. If anybody has any questions, you know, feel free to either drop me an email or drop me a message on the Working Well community or find me on LinkedIn. I've also popped, you'll see a QR code. There's a 2-question feedback form if anybody wants to give me any feedback or ask me anything, or maybe suggest for the Working Well community other ideas or topics that you'd like to cover more.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Abby. That was incredible. You shared a lot with